Ladies and gentlemen, this is your host Saad Khan, and you're listening to the Second Hour Podcast, the place where we discuss business, marketing, entrepreneurship, and the mindset you need to win in work and in life. Today, we're discussing a topic that really helps you set yourself apart from the competition in the market. Let's talk about the one thing that determines whether ad lives or dies. No, it's not your budget. No, it's not your targeting. And no, it's not even your algorithm. It's your creative. In this episode, we're going to be discussing different types of ad creatives and how you can use them to boost your ads and boost your profitability. So let's get right down into it. Before we start with the ad creatives, we have to first get a mutual understanding of what really is an ad creative. Let's define it. So, an ad creative is anything that your customer can see and interact with on your ad that basically tells them, yes, this is an ad, and it persuades them to buy. So, a creative could be your text, your captions that are on the ad, your image, video, or any visual element or text element or sound element that your viewer or your audience can't see. So that is your creative. So now we've got this understanding settled. Let's move on to the basic form of ad creatives. And it's one of the most simple and one of the most versatile creative types out there. And drum roll, that is your static image. Yes, the classic static image. They're your classic direct response marketers tool. They use it to drive conversions. And if done right, they are economical. They are they get your message across the board and they're really effective. And they're perfect in kind of a way. Image ads are perfect for this very reason. They're easy to launch, they're cheap, they don't take much time, and you can test them en masse. But here's one thing you need to learn to get these image creatives right. You need to learn the visual hierarchy. You need to learn how to make your image pop out, how to make the product inside of it pop out. You have to learn how to make that CTA button, that buy now or shop now or explore our products button pop out. Really set the competition apart and how to really get your message across the board. Because at the end of the day, if you cannot get your message across the board, then that is a sign of a poor creative. The best practices for a single image ad or a static image ad is one headline, one caption, one photo, and one CTA. That's it. You don't need anything else. Let's move on to the next tier of creatives, that is video ads. So video ads are very versatile and they're probably one of the most effective ad types or creative types when it comes to driving conversions. It's because you can convey more information in that video. But how do you make sure that your video is not just another video you just recorded on the phone and its editing is as clueless as a novice in advertising? So how do you make sure that doesn't happen? Well, you've got to start small. Start with short videos and keep them between 15 to 40 seconds because that's the sweet spot. You don't want to make it too long or make it too short. If you make it too short, then that's considered a bumper ad, an ad type that we will discuss. So the framework for making video ads is pretty basic. Depends on how advanced you want to make it, but let's start with these three elements. First off, it's your hook. The second is your value, and the third is your CTA. So what's the hook? A hook is your first 5 seconds, first 3 seconds, first 2 seconds of your video that really captures the attention of your viewer because they're going to be on social media going out about their day and they're not there to watch your ad. But your job is to make them do that. And to make them do that, you have to really capture their attention. So the hook does that for you. And as soon, let's say you have captured their attention, they're like, okay, what is this thing? Now you have to provide value. And you provide that value through copy because copy is the most effective medium when it comes to selling and it comes to driving profitability, when it comes to driving sales. Because at the end of the day, copy is the fundamental unit and even in image ads, in video ads, or any other ad type. Because that thing get your message across. So let's talk about another type of video ad that I'm sure you guys have encountered more times than you'd like to admit. And those are called bumper ads. Now, what is a bumper ad? Well, there's an easy example. Imagine you're scrolling YouTube, you're watching a video, you just click on a new video, and there's an ad, an unskippable 5-second ad. That, my friend, is a bumper ad. So, bumper ads, 5-second unskippable ads, pretty annoying. Kind of just want to get rid of them sometimes. But what do they do? Why do they work? I'll tell you why they work. They stick inside of your head. Usually, bumper ads have one clear message and one clear feeling associated to them that you will feel when you watch them. So, that's it. One big idea they have to communicate, and their job is not to make you buy things on the spot for bumper ads. Their job is to help you remember the brand, remember the product, remember the offer. That's what bumper ads are for. So you can see video ads have many types. They can be long VSLs, video sales letters, to short 5-second bumper ads, or they can be your 15 to 40-second long short reels that you can run on TikTok, YouTube, or like Instagram reels, anything like that. So now, video ads, pretty versatile, pretty standard. I think everyone uses them, and video ads are something that you will get better only as you keep practicing making them, because there's some fine lines and some things that you will only understand when you are in the business. I would like to describe it as an art. Video ads are like art. The first time you make it, it's gonna suck, it's not gonna drive many conversions, but you try enough times and it will click. Okay, so the third type of ad creatives are your carousel ads, the ads with multiple images that you can basically slide on. Let's say you're on Facebook and you just see a clothing brand, and in that ad, there is a catalog of their products, multiple products. Let's say they sell jackets. So you've got a bomber jacket, and then you've got a leather jacket, and there's multiple jackets with multiple prices and discounts on the ad that you can basically scroll through and browse the selection, or browse a small part of their selection of products while staying on that platform. So those are an example of carousel ads, or uh, interactive ads. So they typically have more engagement than your static image because they're interactive. The user can interact with them. Okay, so the fourth type of creative is personally my favorite type, and that is the copy. Yes, those long pages of copy where there's nothing else, no graphical elements, just pure text that is designed to sell. Yes, as a direct response copywriter myself, I love the feeling when I read a good copy, a good ad, a good landing page. So what makes a good copy or a good landing page that is only text-based, that is heavily reliant on copy? So you've got to make sure there are a couple of things right. You have to have a really strong headline, and a headline that really captures the attention of the person that's reading. In that headline, you can have a shocking revelation. You can have some benefit that it's too good up to pass on. Sometimes you can get a sense of like a good headline that really stops the person that's reading in their tracks. They're like, oh, is this really possible? So, for example, let's say a good headline would be something like, want better sleep in 7 days? Start here. So native text ads blend in. And they just don't, and text ads necessarily don't have to be on landing pages with red formatting and black and red with a white background, and just Arial fonts and just that simple formatting. No, it doesn't have to be that way. Text ads can also be just simple posts, text driven posts on social media or on other forums. Like I said, it's got many types. We're not here to discuss all types. We're here to give you an idea of what creatives can be. But then let's talk about another ad type that really has caught attention of businesses, and it's really performing well. It started really performing well in the past couple of years, and those are user-generated content. Yes, user-generated content ads. So what's really special about UGC ads or user-generated content ads? Well, there's one thing. They feel authentic. They feel real. And that is one of the main things that an ad should achieve. It should feel authentic and real because then only your buyers, your customers, your audience is going to be is going to feel safe enough to see that yes, this might be something that I can relate to. This is something that I can relate to. Let's see what this is about. These UGC ads are not shot on like, in recording studios. They're more like shot on iPhones by real people. These ads, they're not like perfect. They don't really follow a script, but there is a specific reason to why these work. It's because in imperfection, the UGC ads, the user-generated content ads, find their true calling. Like the saying goes, imperfect is perfect. So those are UGC ads for you. You've seen them on TikTok, you've seen them on Shorts, you've seen them on Reels. Typically, UGC ads are your favorite influencer or favorite celebrity, or maybe just a random housewife or a house mom, or maybe just a random person on the internet, just sharing their experience with the product and the pros and cons of the product and how they felt using it. So that is your classic example of user-generated content ads. Pretty versatile. Definitely consider that for your business. But here's the thing, as advertisers or since the dawn of advertising, wherever you can present something, you can do that. Let's go back 30 years. 30 years ago, there were newspapers, there were editorials, there were magazines, anything that people would read and look at. There would be a section in those elements, in those things, where an ad can be placed. And that was inevitable. An ad would be there. In today's age, we've got social media, we've got forums, we've got streaming sites, we've got listening music sites, we've got Spotify. Anywhere that people hang out, anywhere that people interact in numbers en masse is where an ad can be shown. And story ads are one such example. People like seeing stories of other people in their feed. Let's say you go on Instagram, you're checking out stories of your own friends, and then you come across an ad. Let's say that ad is for honey, someone selling honey. You just look at the story, you're like, okay, even if you're not interested right now, you acknowledge the existence of that product, that business, that brand subconsciously. So that is what story ads are made for. They are one of the recent types of ads that have been implemented by social media platforms like Meta. The best thing about story ads is they have a pretty low effort call to action. It's like just swipe up and then you're on the target page. You've achieved your call to action. So the best way to go about story ads is not to like over design it, keep it simple, keep it snappy, and yeah, don't overcomplicate it. Okay, so the next type of ad creative we're going to be discussing doesn't have an image, doesn't have text, but it relies purely on audio. And it's applicable in a couple of streaming platforms. For example, music streaming platforms like Spotify or some podcasts that you listen to daily. So those are the perfect places where audio ads or audio creatives exist. So they're usually your 15-second ads where they quickly talk about the offer. With podcast ads, whenever a host reads your script, he's not reading it in a salesy way. And that is what we want. They read it like they read it with an organic tone. And that organic tone is really important because it transfers the trust, the credibility, and the authority that the host has built with its listeners directly onto your offer, onto your ad. So that's why these audio creatives, specifically in the context of podcast ads, are really effective because they really drive the point home. It sounds like a recommendation and not an ad. Now, we discussed another prominent type of ads that I'm sure you've heard of if you use streaming sites like Spotify. You're listening to music, and then there is a 20-second or 15-second ad that talks about Spotify. So these ads, they have like they focus on repetition. not interruption. They would often repeat themselves many times, and they have like a specific jingle that's memorable. And let's say if you listen to it long enough, even before the ad starts, you just completely reminded of what the ad is going to be like in the first 3 seconds. When the first 3 seconds of the ad are played, exactly know which ad this is, and you just know it by the jingle. So we talked about many types of creatives: image ads, video ads, carousel ads, interactive ads, copy ads, story ads, visual ads, user-generated content ads, and last but not least, audio ads. So there were like 7 types we discussed. There are many other types, but we'll definitely dive onto them in detail. So how do you know which creative you need to use for your ad? Well, it's pretty simple. If you were just starting out, if you want to test your products, their offers, a simple video ad or a really well designed image ad drives the point home. It helps you get the product, get the ad out. So, what makes a good creative, and what separates a creative from a bad creative? Well, there's 3 C's. There are 3 C's that I like to discuss: clarity, content, and the creative itself. When these 3 things click together, they are going to drive conversions, and a heck of a lot of them. When you understand the level of creative you're using and match it with the right intent of the audience and platform, you stop guessing and you start converting. Okay, let's start with my own personal thoughts. What I personally think a good video ad consists of. A good video ad is not carried by the fancy edits or the fancy visuals or the fancy effects. Yes, sure, they are attractive, but they're not the ones that drive the sale. They're used for attraction. You want your video ad to communicate your offer, communicate your message, and your copy, your message, the copy in your video ad really does that job. So make sure whichever ad type you're running, whichever creative you're running, make sure that the ad copy is top notch every single time. Because if they lose interest and they're attracted for the first 5 seconds, they look at your creative for the first 5 seconds of for the first 3 seconds, and they're like, hmm, nice ads, nice visuals, nice creatives, but really doesn't drive the point home. That is where you've lost. Another example of video ads are live stream ads, where there's typically an influencer who's promoting products, many products on the fly. It often involves product placements in real-time interaction, and yeah, that's one of other types. In static creatives, we have single image ads that typically have a product, the offer, and the call to action in that same post. But there's other types that it can manifest itself in. Let's say you're on Google, you're visiting another website, and as you're reading a blog that Google suggested you, you're on a blog and you see a long banner and it's an ad. That's also a type of a static image. But there's an advanced version of that. What if that image has small animations, small interactive elements that you can hover on and see them change in real time? Maybe you hover on the call to action and the button glows or does something cool. So these types of ads are typically called rich media ads, in which there are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript elements they are present in them. It's not just a single photo or an image that is just uploaded and pasted. They actually have real code behind them, and they help you drive more conversions because they are more creative. They have some elements that really captures the attention because attention, if you haven't captured the attention, no matter how good your offer is, you're not going to be able to make it. So let's talk about long form video ads. So long form video ads are typically your video sales letters or explainer ads. They can also be your webinars. Yes, a webinar can also be an ad if you want it to be. And their duration lasts from like 30 minutes to maybe half an hour, maybe a whole hour if you're really watching it, because I've seen video sales letters that are like 1 hour long. Yes, not even kidding. I've actually, just for the research purposes, one time I sat through a whole 1 hour long ad just to study it and everything like that. I've sat through multiple video sales that are like 45 minutes to an hour long. And yes, they do exist out there. So a video sales letter is a medium of creative where you're not just discussing your product, you're leading it with a story that connects with your audience, with your uh, customers on a personal level. It makes them feel like that you've experienced the same things as them, you can understand them, and if everything is done right, if the person who's watching the long form video, for example, the video says that are long enough, there is a very high chance that they will convert. They're one of the best converting ads out there, provided that the audience does click on it. As we're discussing these ads, I would also like to discuss one more prominent type of ad that I think we've seen out there many times and we would like to admit, and those are mobile ads. You just downloaded an app from the Play Store and now you're using it, and then there's a video, and then there's a small ad with a small cross, teeny tiny cross at the top right. So those are called mobile ads, and they also come in many shapes and sizes. They can be your text ads, they can be a video, or they can also contain interactive elements. Okay, so what is an user-generated content ad? Typically, they are your everyday people promoting your product in their own style. It's not perfect, but that's what we want because imperfect is perfect. They can record their experience of the product and put it on their social media, and you can also use them as a form of advertising. But there's another form. Let's say you are an agency, a service-based agency, and you also want to use these kinds of ads, these kinds of creatives. So the best way for that is get your testimonials from your customers, and they are also an example of a user-generated content ad. So yeah, that's how things are. These were the types of creatives that we discussed today. Later, we will talk about how to make these creatives pop out and what are the elements in these creatives that really drive conversions and audience retention and all of that good stuff. It's been a pleasure recording this episode. I hope to see you again. That's it for this episode. Till then, take care, have fun.